Okay, I think we're ready to start. Welcome once again. Super good to have you here with us. I know we have some customers joining, so very good to see you here, as well as some new joiners. So welcome. Very pleased to have you here at our second live of the Launchmetrics Solutions event, which is a series of live demos of Launchmetrics products. And today we'll be talking about monitoring PR coverage and measuring the impact of campaigns. So let's kick off. My name is Alex. I'm the business marketing executive here at Launchmetrics. And with me today, I have Mark, who's the client experience and enablement manager, taking great care of our clients, and he'll walk you through the platform and its use cases. Very pleased to have you here, Mark. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Great. Well, let's quickly go through the agenda so we know what's coming up. We'll start by a very brief introduction to Launchmetrics for those of you who are with us for the first time. Then we'll move to the key challenges faced by the industry. And then Mark will walk you through the platform. Also, feel free to pop any questions you have in the chat because we'll have some time to answer any questions. So shoot away. Right, let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know us, Launchmetrics is the leading brand performance cloud for fashion, luxury, and beauty. We work with over 1,000 clients from the fashion, luxury, and beauty industry, as well as key industry partners. So Launchmetrics is twofold, really. You know, on one side, we help brands be more efficient. We help them digitize their internal processes and optimize resources that they already have. And then on the other side, it's tracking their marketing activities, you know, their strategies and leveraging data and insights so they can better understand the performance of what they've been doing. And today we'll be focusing on that, on the metrics side of things. So for these two sides, our tools and data help executives make smarter decisions around their branding efforts, and for that, propel their brand performance. And how to measure that performance is what we'll focus on today. One more, Mark. Thank you. Great. So we covered what we do and how we do it. And now I wanted to introduce to you something that's called media impact value. It's essentially a metric that assigns a monetary value to every post, every article, every campaign, and helps our customers understand what's working and what isn't, and is ultimately a monetary representation of brand performance. And I wanted to mention MIV, so media impact value, as it will become key when talking about measuring the success of the activities, but Mark can get into it a bit more during the walkthrough of the platform. So I wanted to now move on to the key challenges faced by professionals in the industry. Sorry, a sip of water, always needed. So as you know, and I'm sure, you know, I don't have to tell you, media coverage is essential to any brand. It's basically what PRs work for tirelessly every single day. And brand mentions in general are key to any brand activities. And, you know, not just mentions from the media, but other key voices that really influence the path to purchase of consumers. So someone like celebrities or influencers you work with, your partners, or even your own media, so your own social media channels. And the first and most common issue is the manual tracking of media coverage and brand mentions. You know, we live in an era where there's so many great tools at our hands there to make our lives easier, yet many brands still track their brand mentions by, let's say, physically going to a store, buying a magazine, flicking through pages, taking a picture, uploading to PowerPoint, you know, checking the ad rates, and so on and so on. You know the drill. And same thing goes for online mentions, you know, which is very often done via Google search or Google Alerts. And that's obviously a tool and can be a good one. But what you might know if you're one of these people using Google Alerts is that they're not often that precise. You know, there's a lot of noise coming through, especially if your brand name is used within other contexts, like we'll have Boss by Hugo Boss, obviously will be very hard to track. So this manual tracking takes time, a lot of time, and I don't need to tell you if you've ever worked in PR, I did, and so I was there myself, and I feel your pain. And then we'll have the issue of fragmented coverage experience. So as I mentioned, the different tools that exist offer a fragmented coverage experience. Again, we have Google Alerts that will show us, you know, our online mentions, but then what are we going to use to track print or social? we're faced with this challenge of having to use multiple tools for different mediums. And I'm not even going to mention Chinese social media, which is so crucial to the market right now, but not so easily accessible to us in the West. So really, again, we're dealing with hours and hours of our time, spent on putting everything together, putting manually that fragmented data into one place, maybe a PowerPoint or an Excel report. And we're doing that every month. And that can take up even up to 20 hours. And that's a lot. Then lastly, we'll have the value of the coverage. So we found the coverage in the media or brand mention from an influencer. But how are we going to determine the value of that coverage? Many brands use ad rates, some base their calculations on the readership. Then for social media, we'll obviously have engagement rates. But then how do you compare one to one another? Can you really compare a feature invoked to a celebrity or influencer post on Instagram? The question is, what's the metric you're going to use to measure that impact? So this lack of standardized metric that can be used across the whole industry is one of the key challenges faced by professionals in the industry these days. So we went through the most common issues, some of which you're probably facing on a daily basis, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. So let's see how we can tackle these issues and other issues with the Discover platform. Again, feel free to pop any questions in the chat. We'll address them at the end. But Mark, I'll let you do the honors.
All right, well, great job, Alex. Thanks so much again, everyone, for joining us today. Really excited to show you the platform. So Discover, right? We're talking about our media monitoring platform. It is part of our metrics side of our brand performance cloud. As you saw, we've got some products that are more on the launch side of things, but our Discover platform makes up our metrics side. So really helping brands and agencies measure the performance, measure the value of the work that they're doing. And that's all done through that media impact value proprietary algorithm that Alex had talked about. So we're going to see that throughout the Discover platform, but I just want to give you guys a little bit of a lay of the land here. I certainly, wish I had more time with you today, so we're going to kind of move a little bit quickly, but I am going to make sure to hit as much as I can in the time that I have. So when I come into Discover, I usually, before I start to show, the stream of results that are coming in real time, I like to help show, okay, where do these results come from? And that all has to do with our setup. So if I click on this little gear icon, there's a button that says Manage My Feeds. And this is where you're going to see the structure of Discover come into play here. So it's called a focus. So I like to correlate a focus almost like a folder on your desktop computer. And then within that folder, we have our files, right? And then this is where we have our online, social, and print feeds. So, one of the challenges that Alex had talked about was the fragmented coverage experience, right? There's certainly other providers out there that can help you have online media coverage or just social media, but there's very few, if any, that have online, social, and print that are doing nearly as well as what we're doing here in Discover. So the brands that I like to use here when I'm showing off Discover are Adidas, Carolina Herrera, Fendi, and Kate Spade. So if we dive into these focuses for these brands, if I click in here, I wanted to show you guys how we go and create what we call feeds. So for online media, right, if I'm telling Discover, for a brand like Adidas, it's pretty straightforward. It's just going to be one word. I'm looking for one keyword for Adidas, right? And by putting in that keyword, by making this feed setup as broad as possible, I'm going to get as many results, as possible. And then I'm going to show you guys in the feed section how I can slice and dice what it is exactly that I'm looking for, whether it's specific coverage from, one media or the other, or a specific channel. So you're going to see all that. For some brands that are more ambiguous, right? Think about a brand like the brand Coach. That's a very ambiguous word. If we put the word Coach into Discover, it's going to be a challenge to get our coverage perfect. But that's where we have advanced features like disambiguation models. We have a whole data services team that really helps make sure that our feeds are perfect. And this is where you'll get a lot of hand holding with your customer success manager at Launchmetrics, with our data team at Launchmetrics. We'll make this part easy. We'll help you get your feed set up. So all you guys really need to think about and worry about is, going in and viewing your coverage and running great reports. The feed setup, not too much to get hung up on, but If we look in here, you'll also see that there's ways where we can plug in specific source specifications. So if you are working with, various media partners, and that's really just where you care about seeing your coverage from, you can always go ahead and filter by specific medias. On the left-hand side, if you're looking at specific languages, if you just care, let's say, about English coverage, you can filter by just your English coverage. If you're looking at location-wise, so you just care about, USA coverage or Germany coverage or Spain coverage, we can filter our feeds to do that, right? So this is just a very brief introduction to our feed setup. And again, I just like to show this before I go and dive into reviewing all the results that we have. So if I look at social, again, a little bit similar structure, not, there's some differences here, but for social, we're telling Discover to look for various hashtags and text, various mentions. So Adidas, right, that brand has a couple of different Instagram handles. So I'm going to put all those different handles in there so that Discover can go and look for, the various mentions that are mentioning either Adidas Original or @Adidas, for example. And similar to where we saw the source specifications for online, we can also do the same thing for social, where we're looking at just specific social profiles. So if you know that you're doing an influencer campaign with, a list of 10 influencers, let's say, we can narrow our coverage to just look for those social profiles. So again, it really helps us, hone in on exactly the coverage that we're looking for. We also have filter by follower options here. So if you know that you only care about Instagram coverage from followers, from accounts that have followers of 500,000 followers at a minimum, we can go ahead and we can put those filters in place so you guys are just seeing the coverage that matters most to you. And then for print, it's a much easier setup. We either monitor the brand or we don't, but we've got a host of different brands and lines that we can look into, and that's going to be how we get our print coverage. So we have a manual team that receives thousands of magazines over the course of days, months, weeks, and they will actually go into each magazine, they'll clip the magazine, they'll qualify the magazine, they'll tell you, which brand is in the article, is mentioned in the article, we'll assign it how much percentage of the page, your sample image took up or your mention took up, and that'll help us correlate to immediate impact value. So now that you have a little bit of an idea of, all right, how does that feed setup come into, how does that work? Now we can dive into actually reviewing our results, right? So typically I would say my structure here is probably most similar to how an agency would use Discover, where they have each of their own individual brands, set up like this. But if you're just one brand and you're focusing on just, your brand only, you might just have one focus and your 3 feeds: online, social, and print. So when I'm in my feed results here, you're going to see on the left-hand side, there's we have a number of different filters here. So first we'll start off with our focuses, right? So if I'm just responsible for reviewing, for example, my Adidas coverage, all I have to do is come in here and click on this little checkbox next to my focus of Adidas, and now I'm looking at all my Adidas coverage, right? But if I'm focusing that day, let's say, on my coverage for Fendi or Kate Spade, I can go ahead and select the focus of Fendi here, and that's going to filter out my results in the middle of the page here. So we can start off with our focus filter. We also have our date period. So if I'm looking at results for just the last week, or I want to see results from the last month or the last 3 months, or any specific date range I'm looking for, I have full ability to run that filter. Now you're also going to see the next 15 days here. And what that actually is talking about is that's for our print coverage, right? So right now it's July 23rd, but we've already received the Vanity Fair Italy magazine for July. So we're going to get that coverage into Discover, hopefully sooner than you would have found it out on the newsstand, right? So this allows you to see your print coverage, hopefully sooner than what if you would have seen it, like I said, on a newsstand, or if you were trying to clip it on your own and find that result on your own. So we'll put in our results as soon as we have it, which can be sooner than the publication date necessarily. Some of the other filters that I really like to show here on the left-hand side are going to be our channel filters, right? So if we go to channel, this would allow me to say, okay, I want to see all of my Instagram coverage and just my Instagram coverage. So I can check off Instagram here, and then I want to say, okay, of the last 3 months, what was my Instagram content that had the greatest media impact value? And that's where we're able to go ahead and sort our results by not just publication date, which is the date that the post would be coming into Discover, but we can go ahead and filter this by, or sort this by media impact value. So this is a great way where I can get a feel for what are some of our, our best mentions that we're getting out there. And right here, we can see that this Instagram post from this profile, we load this up, Bright VC. So this Instagram profile, for example, they have 15.3 million followers, so a huge follower count. And on this particular post that's talking about Adidas, and you'll always see those keywords that we had set up in the feeds, which I showed you guys earlier. You'll always see those keywords highlighted in green there. We can see that this post had 1.9 million in engagement, so 1.9 million likes plus 15,000 comments. So all that's going to equal close to 1 million in media impact value. So a huge post by this social profile for Adidas, right? And then I can come down and I can keep looking at my results however I want. And if there's ever a result that we didn't really want to see in our feeds, or we felt there was a mistake, for example, we always have the ability to click on this little X icon and remove a mention. All right, so filtering in our feeds is a great way to find the coverage that we're looking for. We're also able to go ahead and use the search bar, right? So if I wanted to see my coverage for Gucci by Adidas, right, the new collab, I can go ahead and search that. And now when I run that search, it's going to pull up for me just my results that are mentioning Gucci by Adidas here. So all these results have to do with this particular collaboration, this particular collection. And then what I can go ahead and do from there is this allows me to actually tag my results. So I can keep track of my coverage by tagging results. So I'm queuing these results and I can tag results. And you can organize your tags based on either maybe celebrities that you're working with, or a specific product, so a women's wear product, for example, or a specific holiday. So that's it. So tagging is a great method that we talk about with our customers to help them organize their coverage without having to make a new feed every single time a new collaboration happens. So tagging is a really helpful feature for our users. Now, I am keeping a close eye on the clock here, and I am making sure I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can here for everybody. We're also going to show you guys one more filter here on the left-hand side, and that has to do with media, right? So this media filter, what this would allow me to do is, if I wanted to just look for my coverage from Vogue, I can go and I can search directly by that particular media. You can see Vogue Brazil, Vogue US, Vogue Mexico, and I can check off those particular medias, click on OK. And now my results are going to be just, in this case, still Gucci by Adidas from Vogue. So it's such an easy way where if I'm looking directly into specific medias, I can do that so quickly with Launchmetrics here. So I'm going to move on from the feed section. I want to talk a quick second about newsletters. So newsletters are a great way where your team, obviously we know that, bandwidth can be tight for some teams. It's hard to necessarily get a chance to get into Discover every day. I know you guys have a million things going on, and that's where we're able to set up daily newsletters or weekly newsletters. We can get newsletters multiple times a day. We can get newsletters in the morning, the night. You can have it once a week at the end of the week. And this newsletter allows you to get coverage directly to your email inbox. So if I just go to my email for 1 second here, just want to give you guys a quick peek of what one of those newsletters would look like, because this is a great way where you don't necessarily have to come into Discover every single day, right? So if I don't have to come into Discover every day, just trying to find one of our newsletters here. So this is like a online coverage newsletter. So you'll get that stream of results that can come right into your email inbox every day without necessarily needing to go into Discover. So newsletters are a great way to save time, but also showcase your coverage to your respective email list that you want to send this to, internally or even externally with your clients. And then the last thing that we'll end on here is reports. So obviously we talked about how, having a lack of standardized metrics can be, one of the challenges of media monitoring right now. If you don't have a tool like Discover, our reports make, keeping track of how much coverage you're getting, what was our media impact value, so much easier. So we have 4 different types of exporting formats. The first one that we have is what we call a coverage book. And this coverage book is very much like Pinterest. I'm going to open this up here. It's a very easy shareable link. So in this coverage book style report, it's definitely one of our most aesthetically pleasing reports that we have. You'll see at the top of the page, this is organized by print, by online, and our social coverage. So you could just click on these three squares at the top of the page, and that would help you filter between your different coverage. And then you, as the editor of this report, you have the ability to go ahead and highlight different coverage. So I'm moving coverage around here. I can remove a piece of coverage if I didn't want that in my results. So our coverage book, a great way to share results just using a simple link. The other type of reports that we have here are going to be our data reports. So definitely maybe our least sexy report, but I think one of the most functional reports that we do have here. You're going to see your team will never have to fill out an Excel on your own manually again if you're using a data report. You're going to have all that information pulled directly into this Excel totally for you. It's going to have the source name, it's going to have the publisher, the gender, the content, the page number, the MIV. You'll also have hyperlinks to the cover and the clip of the magazine, and it'll have all the details in terms of stylist or photographer that we have. So all this gets generated for you automatically. And even if you're using any sort of business intelligence tool, you can take this raw data, plug it into that BI tool, and kind of do what you need with it. But I really love this report. Again, Excel's not too sexy, not too fun, but this is a great Excel report, has all the data that you're going to need. And then our last report that we're going to have here are going to be more on the PowerPoint side. And there's going to be two differences here. We have two PowerPoints that are very similar, but just slightly different. You've got a campaign report and a periodic report. So the difference here is that our campaign report allows us to pick and choose the actual dates that we're looking for our coverage. Maybe we had a specific campaign, launched the first week of May, right? We could run that report for May 1st through, let's say, May 7th, for example. So that's where we would go and run our campaign style report. But our periodic report, what that's going to do is that's going to actually measure our performance from 1 month to the next, right? So I can compare my results from May versus April, which is really helpful for high-level executives that maybe don't care so much about that day-to-day coverage, but they're really looking at your performance from that high-level view, and they really want to see those trends. So if I go and I open up, what one of those PowerPoint reports look like here, we'll take a look at that periodic report, right, where we're comparing our May to our April coverage. So, you're going to see all of those placements. They're going to be tallied for you. The placements, the reach, the MIV amount. You're going to see there's this color code here. If I hover over, I'll see what percentage of MIV came from online, social, or print. And then this little percentage icon is going to give me, it's going to tell me that I performed I had a 47% increase in my placements from May compared to April. So, that's one spot where you'll be able to see that. You'll also be able to see these trend lines here. So we've got our number of placements. We've got our MIV amount. So these trend lines can be really helpful for those executives that are really trying to get a full scope of how we're performing from month to month. You'll also see top 5 locations by MIV and comparative to one month to the next year with these bar charts. And then what I really like to show here, I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions. When we get to our specific print coverage, you're going to be getting these beautiful slides with these full clips right on the page here. You're going to see what the source of the magazine was. You're going to see the publisher information. You're going to have the location, where the magazine was from, the reach amount, the media impact value amount, the page occupation. Like I said, stylist, product type if we have it. So these clips are all going to come right onto the PowerPoint directly for you. So you're going to see all that great information. And this is just for print. It's a very similar look and feel as we move on to online and social. So I'm going to wrap this up in just a second so we get to questions. So we've got a very similar look and feel with our online. And if we take a look at our online coverage, you'll see, we've got top 10, sources. We'll see those top 10 articles by MIV. And then, you'll see the actual individual clip for each page here. It's a little bit small. So I always tell people, you might sometimes need to reclip, but we're going to give you as much information as possible. The header, and then in the middle of the page here, it's highlighted where our coverage was. It's highlighted in green, so you can zoom in and reclip it if you need. But you're going to have all that information right here. And then I'll finish up with showing social. As we talked about, we have that Chinese social data, which is really important. Red, WeChat, Weibo, Douyin, Bilibili. We have these, these Chinese social medias that makes a huge difference for our clients. That you're going to be able to see that information. And then, of course, we'll have our clips as well for our social, right? We'll be able to see those clips right here on our page. So reporting life is really easy when you're running reports through Discover. These reports take no time at all to generate. And yeah, I hope that this was a really helpful speed run through of Discover. I want to try to keep on time as best as possible. So I'll open it up for questions here, but we did get through as much as I wanted to show in the limited time we had.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mark. I realize we're limited on time, but this was great. We actually had a couple of questions coming through. We answered one already, but maybe in very, very short words, you could explain what MIV is again, because I know I introduced media impact value, then in shorten it's MIV, so it might be a bit confusing. So maybe you can quickly just let our audience know.
Yeah, definitely. Let me go ahead. I'm going to go and reference the slide again, because MIV is not going to be a metric that I can pen and paper just calculate for you. This is a machine learning, algorithm. Our computers are doing this, and you're going to see that it's going to be broken up in two different attributes: quantitative, where we're looking at the reach, we're looking at engagement, we're looking at media rates. So we're looking at those metrics on that particular source, whether it's a print publication, and what their circulation is, whether it's an online media and what their reach amount is for that online media. If it's a social profile, we're looking at their follower count. Then, like we saw with some of those posts when we sorted by MIV, right? We saw that post that had a really high engagement amount. Engagement, we're going to factor that into the quantitative attributes. And then we look at qualitative. So we take a look at what is the source authority, for example. So a mention that's in Vogue is going to have a much greater source authority than a mention from a magazine that's maybe not so fashion luxury focused, right? If there's a celebrity that's featured in the article, right, that has a higher, Kim Kardashian is mentioned, right? That's going to have a much greater MIV than pretty much anyone else, basically. So we're looking at the content quality, the source authority, and the mix of those two groups of attributes come together with our machine learning algorithm and our years worth of FLB expertise. That's where we will automatically assign an MIV value so that you guys can look across your print, your online, your social metrics and feel like you have a consistent measurement across those channels. But again, it's nothing I can do pen and paper. It's all based on our algorithm. And again, it's a proprietary algorithm. So only Launchmetrics has MIV.
Great, thanks, Mark. I know we have 1 more minute, so I'm just going to quickly ask one more question. So we have a question asking, we work with KOLs in China. Do you track these?
Yeah, so like we talked about, we have those social Chinese social medias that we do track in Discover. So WeChat, Weibo, Douyin, Bilibili, Red. I think I got them all. So yeah, so definitely that is tracked as long as you have the the handle for your brand in those particular channels. And then in our feed results, for example, like we talked about, we could use for example that channel filter here. And if I wanted to see all of my coverage from Weibo, for example, I can filter by that channel, and this is going to give us all of our coverage from that particular social channel in China. So usually takes a second to open that page up, but here we go. You guys you'll see that page open up. So this is going to be an example of one of the placements that we have from Weibo for Adidas, and we can see it's pulling in because we had that Adidas hashtag. So yeah, so we definitely can keep track of Chinese social media out there.
Great, thanks, Mark. I realize we're out of time. We had another question that I'm going to quickly try and answer. Do you have any solution of online dashboarding as to access, visualize, and analyze 360 data? Well, actually, we do have another session coming up. It's, I think, another one of our tools could help answer this question. It's called Insights. So we'll have another session. So keep your eyes open. We'll send an invite. I'm sorry we don't have time to show it now or answer other questions, but feel free to always reach out to us by email. Mark, on the last slide, there's my contact, but of course you can also reach out via the Launchmetrics email. Thank you so much for joining. Hope this was helpful. Feel free to again ask the questions via email, and we'll answer all of them. So thanks so much again, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much.
Bye.